Some people call me the space cowboy. Wild West, desperado, rough rider. No, you don't want nada. There's six gunning this, brother running this. Buffalo, no. Any damsel that's in distress, be out of distress when she meet Jim dress. Roughneck, so go check the roughneck. So go watch your step, reflex, and get a hold in your dress. Swallow your buffalo, don't let your neck react. You don't wanna see my hand where my hand be at. With James dress from the start of this, running the game. Artemis, taming the West. So remember the James. Now who you gonna call? Now who you gonna call? You don't wanna see my knee. If you ever wanna see my bum rush, break out before you get beat. Now that's the when I roll into the, when I stroll into the, when I bounce into the disco.
Hello. Wolfenstein is either a name you either don't know or you do know and you are now wildly upset because you fucking know what Bethesda did. In 2014, Machine Games created Wolfenstein: The New Order. It was an absolute smash success. A success the likes of Doom 2016, except, 2 years earlier. These games actually have a lot in common, weirdly enough. The New Order did a similar thing to Doom, but translating a concept like Doom's man-kill-demon plotline into a modern take with more story and polish isn't exactly that all hard to do. And of course, being comparable to Doom, Wolfenstein: The New Order is fun as hell. While Doom tends to be mostly mindless with a vast depth that can be engaged with if you so choose, the original Wolfenstein is quite the opposite. It's a game about slaughtering Nazis with mecha robots and miniguns and turning them fascists into a fine red paste. It's a joy. But more than that, it's a political joke in the context of this horrible fucking group of people that totally deserve the brutal and viciously violent fate they meet in this classic. Fuck Nazis. But that meant that when Machine Games decided to remake the game with full-blown story and characters and themes and cutscenes, they had to take our BJ Nazi-killing boy and give him a 3D face. Quite the task. So how could you make all this chaos work in a modern setting? How could you possibly take such an absurd concept and modernize it into a sensical experience? How in the fucking world did the Wolfenstein remakes get so goddamn smart? Not you! Wolfenstein: The New Order, unlike Doom or even its predecessor, thrusts you into having to think about things from day one. This ain't your daddy's demon playpen, this is real fucking war. When you start the game, you are thrown straight into the middle of World War II. And right off the bat, it's clear that this is not the World War II you statistically weren't alive for. This is another reality. There are plenty of things that don't exist in real life as far as we know, but they're just real enough that you're willing to buy it. The New Order walks this thin line between a genuine exploration of this horrifying timeline we didn't end up on, and a satisfying prance through a car wash of Nazi blood. In the opening alone, you see hyper-advanced planes, robotic dogs from hell, massive walkers with artillery cannons and laser cannons, all creations of Death's Head, the Nazi leader you've been sent in to kill. Who are you? Well. Let me introduce you to the Doom guy of this series, BJ motherfucking Blazkowicz. He is a fucking badass. And take note of his dreamy blue eyes and flowing blonde locks. A devilishly ironic anti-fascist, considering he's exactly the kind of guy Nazis get wet dreams about. The perfect Aryan. Strong, white, blonde, blue eyes. Well, except for the fact that he's actually Jewish himself and such a wholesome fucking G. Like, damn. All my homies stan BJ. I'd let him fuck my wife if he'd ask me. Hell, I'd let him fuck me. Anyway, enough BJ simping. This opening is also where you get to meet Private Wyatt and Sergeant Fergus, two characters it focuses on heavily. We learn that Fergus is a veteran in the battlefield with a rock-solid pain tolerance and laser focus. He always knows what he's doing, even when the world is crumbling around him. attuned to the terrors of war. Meanwhile, Private Wyatt is the exact opposite. Clumsy, terrified, inexperienced, a total clown. Usually, you and Fergus get the joy out of spending half your time keeping his head straight and his brain from falling out of it. You see what I did there? A bit of foreshadowing, that's fun. You three and a few others that I forgot the names of because frankly they aren't really important, just know that they're on the same team as you three, make your way into Death's Head's complex, dealing with all the insanity that the Nazis have in store. After almost getting to the top of the complex, you are ambushed by massive mechanical giants that take you and your team hostage. After which Death Head appears, just to smugly taunt you for daring to come up against him.
The dying tongue. You? I've seen you before. Oh, I like you. Such a resilient specimen. With you, I could do great things.
The portrayal of the Nazis specifically in this universe is horrifyingly real sometimes. And as his soldiers hold you at the mercy, Death's Head cheekily offers you this ultimatum.
I like the eyes. On this one. Do you forget him? I like yours. Which one of these two varieties would best support my research? I have inadequate room for samples. Should you decline my opinion, I shall have to put a scalpel to both of them and we'll be here all day. I'll make matters simple. All you need to do is look to the one you would have me dissect.
Either you choose which of your two friends here is going to turn into his next disemboweled lab rat, or he'll dissect them both in clear view. He specifically forces you, as BJ, to make this choice. You may not know them well, but the game makes sure you know them well enough at this point that the choice hurts. It's sickening. This choice is for me what makes these games different from Doom. This choice not only haunts you throughout the entirety of this game, but the sequel as well. By giving the player agency in this scene, Machine Games adds a whole new level of involvement to the horrible shit that happens, not only to you and your team, but to the world as a whole. It gives you a personal stake in the events to come, and fuck, if that doesn't draw you in, choosing either, I don't know what will. No matter which one you choose, they're pulled up into the table, and the scene that is about to happen is one of the most heart-wrenching and gut-wrenching things I've seen in a video game in a while. Viewer discretion advised. If you don't want to see the horrible shit that's about to happen, please skip to this time. Seriously, like, this is actually a warning. Like, this is some really messed up shit that stuck with me for a few weeks after seeing it, so please listen to this. The machine drills a hole in the back of the person's head while they are still awake. You can hear them wailing in agony. As the machine opens a hole in the back of their skull, inserts a small tool, and scrambles their brains, and then scoops them out. The scream that Wyatt makes here is the stuff of nightmares, especially Wyatt's. We don't learn this until later, but Death's Head took out his brain to use in experiments. Horrible, terrible things that no one should be subjected to. This is how you breed wrath towards a villain. This is a masterclass in the cultivation of pure hatred. You only see this part of the process near the end of the game. When you see it for the first time, we just see BJ's face in pure horror. It only lets you assume what your imagination can come up with. Either way, you and your remaining team have no time to mourn, as now you must figure out how to escape. Quickly hatching a plan, you end up jumping out the back of the building and being thrown forward by an explosion. A piece of debris scraping across the back of your skull as you fall to what could have been your freedom or your death. The player can already tell that either option is better than being Death's Head plaything. I'm saying you here, but this is all as much BJ's experience as it is yours. This is reinforced by hearing BJ's inner monologue. It gets annoying for some, but not for me. It's rather nice to hear some insights about his perspective and or have him communicate useful information.
General, that's it. Today he's teaching me a lesson. I've seen suffering and death. People maimed and tortured. Thought I'd seen it all. But I'd never seen true cruelty. Until now. Count to 4. Inhale. Count to 4. Exhale.
His tone is so calm and subdued that you could not pay attention to any of it and it probably wouldn't bother you. This three-dimensional approach to his character is appreciated and interesting. Obviously. After being knocked out, BJ ends up in a coma in a hospital in Spain somewhere. He even says himself he doesn't know where he is, but he knows he's in a hospital. He's taken care of a woman named Anya. She's very kind and sweet. They develop a sort of bond here even before BJ wakes up. Shit's neato. But then the not-so-neato is when Nazis start coming into the hospital every once in a while to abduct more and more people. First just 2, then 4, then it's just you and Anya. This is where Wolfenstein starts to branch off from reality proper. After an indeterminate amount of time, BJ's instincts kick in. He picks up a knife, and out of sheer will, my man gets up and stabs this Nazi fucker in the neck.
Nazi scum.
Absolute Chad. After clearing the hospital and finding everyone but Anya dead, you and her drive to her grandparents' house. They're a kind old couple. I like them. They're fun and cute. And, we have, bigger news to attend to. Okay, so, remember how the Nazis, didn't win World War II? BJ sure doesn't.
I gotta find my unit, let them know I'm alive and ready for duty.
There's no more war.
It's over. No more military. No.
The war ain't over. Look at all these Nazis walking around.
They won.
It's over. The Nazis rule the world now. They are everywhere. Everywhere.
What about the U.S.?
The USA, they, what's the word? Poddacie.
Surrenders.
From this point onwards, the game near becomes this endless struggle of the Nazis, taking out their bases, saving your friends, just generally dealing with Nazi scum in the most fashionable way possible. Absolute murder death. Moving on to the next sequence, this time it's one from Wolfenstein 2. This is probably one of the best sequences I've ever seen in a first-person shooter. Such a beautiful combination of the player's experience, the story, the music, the subverting of expectations. Shit goes beyond the standard chef kiss into a full-on makeout session. Pure excellence. The sequence begins after BJ takes down a massive Nazi Uberkommando base, basically destroying their stockpile of nuclear weapons. He then steals a Nazi Borderlands vehicle, and while he drives away from the explosion, all badass, he spots a sign pointing towards his hometown, and decides to give his pops a visit. BJ's family is complicated. He has a sweet Jewish mother who treats him with love and respect. She's very kind and soft to BJ. Rip Blazkowicz, his father, is one of the most vile sons of bitches I've ever had the displeasure of discussing in a video game, let alone on this channel. He's a beautifully painted picture of a horrible man. I'm talking like Dorian Gray levels of horrible here. But although he is a monster, he's still a father. Like in this scene, where we see that little Billy is having night terrors. His reaction is fucking gross, but the scene right after that, well...
I've tried smacking sense into you till the cat... Here's what we're gonna do. You take this.
Wow.
Now, you and I are going down into the basement, and any monsters that show up, we shoot them dead, right between their eyes. Sometimes the best way to fix a problem is to face it head on. You with me?
Yes, Daddy.
Sophia, you in on this?
I can't help but smile just a little for one moment, as I can see the facsimile of a real family. It's only for a moment, though. Rip is still a terrible person, father, and businessman. He's racist, sexist, just generally awful. Trust me, neither of us really want to go into detail, and frankly, the thought of it is just kind of making me want to throw up, but it's pulled straight from reality. Oops, tip my hat! Billy, with an I-E, was a young girl that Billy, with a Y, met at the river. They have the same name, how cute! But of course, Billy isn't white like Billy, though. And as this is a story set in 1930s America, this doesn't give Billy or Billy a happy ending. Rip beats Billy for this and makes him shoot his dog because of his own prejudices, because of his own son's emotions that he cannot control. He made him shoot his dog. But enough reminiscing about psychological torment. Let's get back to present BJ revisiting his childhood home. The place is a wreck. Not surprising. Notes of commanders working with Rip are scattered about. Not surprising as well, given his views on other races. The man really fits into this alternate history quite well. Disgusting. When you confront BJ's father, he seems completely indifferent. You may as well be confronting some full-blown terrorist that has stepped into your home. When Billy reminds his father, "I'm your son," he sounds more disappointed than anything. Sad he never had the luxury of a good father, perhaps.
Daddy, I'm your son. Down on your fucking knees. Was a time I was scared of you.
But this pensive sadness quickly gives way to rage as Rip puts a gun to your head, pulling back the hammer with zero hesitation, ready to shoot. This is the exact moment when BJ gave up on his father. But he isn't afraid anymore, as he says so calmly. The only reason BJ gets found here is because of his father. His past is what drags him into his future. And he knows that it's time to stop getting dragged and start walking.
Who in the hell'd you call?
But before you can take a step in the right direction, you're immobilized and have your power suit, aka Caroline's wings, which is what BJ has referred to the power suit as for most of the game up to this point, is taken by the Frau, and you're captured by her massive ship, once again reduced to the shell of a man who's gotten this far. Frau even takes your mother's ring, the whole reason you even came to your old house, and has the audacity to make fun of you for having it. She jokingly asks if you wanted to marry her, if you want to be her special someone.
Blazkowicz. Really? Do you want to love and to cherish me till death do us part? Would you like to kiss the bride now? But not before the wedding.
We learn later that there is a little bit of truth to this, which is even more gross than if she was kidding. I want to point out here, although Frau Engel is a terrible, terrible, awful, god-awful, terrible, awful, terrible... Her voice actress, Nina Franosek, I think that's right. Sorry if I butchered her name. Is incredibly talented, striking this balance of real evil with a little edge of comedic timing. You still hate Frau as a character, but you can't help but laugh at how much joy she gains from fucking with you. A superb choice for the role. Anyway, going back to the game, it's at this point that you get knocked the fuck out. Waking up in the interrogation room, you find that the Nazis have given you a lawyer for some reason, which right off the bat is extremely suspicious. That is very sus. As we know from this point, there's no such thing as a fair Nazi. So when Super Spesh comes in and starts yelling, the whole thing gets very uneasy. You and BJ are once again united in experience and emotion as you're overcome with this horrible sense of... Your worries are confirmed as Spesh proceeds to lay out a classic Wolfenstein scheme, talking about popping Nazis and getting you out of there, probably some explosions and shit, you know the drill. It's at this point, however, that Frau Engel busts in, shoots Spesh in the face, and then puts the gun in your mouth, saying,
How does it taste? Shh. How does it taste? The gunpowder of the bullet that killed your friend.
This disorienting and chaotic scene is a perfect encapsulation of why her character works so well. She makes a show of being evil, and she finds immense joy in crushing her enemies. Real joy, as you can probably guess from all the malicious taunting she does after murdering your one hope of getting out. And that's probably the most terrifying thing about her. But no time to dwell on that for now. It's time for your sentencing. This court scene has got to be my favorite scene in the game. It's the reason I'm making this video, and it's probably the thing that I remember the most when thinking about Wolfenstein 2. There are things that come after it, but I adore it, and I really love this as an emotional peak of the whole game. Having the bag removed from your head, you're in court. Do I really need to highlight the irony of this scene? Look at it. It's extremely well done, speaks for itself. The shot composition here is more than enough to say something about itself, along with the dialogue of the judge.
For theft and destruction of public and private property, aiding the enemy, torture, terrorism, including nuclear, both domestic and abroad, and high treason. For gruesome murders that number in the thousands, you have been found guilty, Mr. William Joseph Blazkowicz. It is rare, even for a man of my job description, to come face to face with true evil. And it pains me that the maximum sentence that I can bestow upon you is something as trivial as death.
Amazing stuff. Horrifying, but very well done. This may seem like the end for our hero, but of course, BJ sees an opportunity and strikes, killing every Nazi in sight, absolutely obliterating them like the machine he is. This scene is nonsensical. BJ can't walk without power armor. We've seen that established before. This can't be happening. But a deus ex machina in the form of your pure adrenaline takes over any train of thought that isn't complete annihilation. You're so hyper-focused on killing every goddamn fascist you can see that in the wake of your carnage, reality starts to set in. After killing all the Nazis, you get an objective marker as you would in any other level, but unlike any other level, none of your friends show up to assist you. No one calls you over the radio, no one gives you a plan. You just have to start walking. So that's what you do, leaving through any exit that you choose. You see your mother, and you know that she couldn't possibly be here, but it's nice to see her. You talk for a bit. She gives this very melancholy speech as reality sets in for you and BJ. The last thing your mother says to you is,
I wanted you to see them. I miss you.
We will be together soon. You just have one more hardship to
Snapping back to reality, you're still in the courtroom. You're still surrounded by the same guards that you turned into a red pulp minutes ago. Of course you didn't kill all these people. You're a husk, a ragdoll, a man turned into a shadow of his former self. Nothing. Finally, you're taken to a stage of what looks like DC. Thousands of fascists are cheering for the live beheading of Billy, terror of the Third Reich. This scene is really interesting if you don't know what's coming. There's gonna be a sniper or a surprise attack, you're thinking, or someone will come at the last second to save me. Someone's gotta do something. There's no way they're gonna get away with this.
We would have been so good together. Darling.
This scene is an excellent subversion of expectations, and I haven't seen such a scene done this well ever. The moment before the big reveal that BJ isn't dead, I'll get to it in a second, I was left genuinely hopeless. Never in a game such as this have I lost all ounce of power and have it replaced with total dread. I knew in the back of my head that he wouldn't die, otherwise this ending would have been fucking very talked about, and also probably bad. But the scene is still extremely effective, even multiple times after playing it, because it's just so empty. I don't think anyone playing this blind could have possibly have seen this coming. The game has trained you time after time to expect revolution, to expect the people to rise up and have a plan, and it seems like this time they didn't. Like, this is where it ends. But oh, no, of course they had a plan. Why would they ever give up on anyone known as the terror of the Nazis? Alright, anyway. So after the beheading, right? Yeah. Head falls off, blood squirting out. Really bad, not good at all. The Frau then holds the head up to the camera and drops it. When we see the scene earlier, it looks like the head just falls into the fire, but actually, there's a little robot down there that snatches up BJ's head and takes it over to the U-boat. The U-boat is where you've been hiding out for most of Wolfenstein 2. Remember when Set made this thing earlier in the game? I don't know if I talked about it, but earlier in the game, Set combined the dying head of a cat with stomach cancer and put it onto a monkey that he found roaming the boat, therefore keeping the cat alive in this very adorable little hybrid. Apparently, that's how he's going to save BJ. But while this is incredibly well set up and an amazing use of a Chekhov's gun in a video game story, the more engaging part to me is the faces and reactions Anya makes when she sees BJ's decapitated head. She just kind of fucking loses it for a second, rightly so. The entire time before he's confirmed to be okay, Anya looks a level of distress that hits hard every time I see it. She bends down and puts her hands on her knees, looking almost completely defeated. Her voice acting here is also excellent. But of course, you're okay. You even get to pick a cool power-up after. You get to choose between squishing into small spaces, built-in stilts, and a bull rush. It's a really cool way of adding a bit of replayability and player choice, and I really appreciate that as someone that likes to return to these games every few years. And all the levels are on point, of course, with these upgrades, with all sorts of ways for you to traverse and get around and kill Nazis. It's neat. Now, before we end the video, I think I would be doing a disservice if I didn't discuss the death of Frau Engel, with how much I've been talking about her character. Using your newfound body, you finally take down her massive flying ship of robots and defenses. This is the proper combat finale of the game, and I gotta say, it's pretty fucking awesome fighting these two big robots on the top of this ship. It's pretty great, but that's not really why I'm here. Now, she's alone, separated from her ship on a TV show? Don't question it. It's Nazi bullshit. Anyways, she's all alone, helpless, and waiting. The build-up specifically in this scene, at least for me, was ridiculously satisfying. Although me and many others wish that BJ prolonged her suffering and gave her what she deserved, for me, this next interaction is what makes the scene better than it could have been. While I'll agree that it's a little too quick and it could have been a little more satisfying and a little more ironic, maybe shooting her in the head much like she did the Spesh, just spitballing ideas here. But this interaction between you and the Frau, just before she's killed, is genuinely awesome. Slowly making your way around the studio, you hear the Frau talk to the TV show host, gloating, bragging about how she removed your head from your body, killing one of the most dangerous men in Nazi history. Meanwhile, you're alive, making your way around the back in the shadows, seconds away from killing her. For me, this was an excellent way of doing this because it allows you to basically stew in that revenge for a little bit right before this happens. Speaking of this, coming down the elevator, she screams, "You're dead! I separated your head from your shoulders! I killed you!" Takes out a pistol and starts firing at you. After which, you then proceed to prove how alive you are by removing her arm and effortlessly cleaving a hatchet into her face. For a moment, she's just still barely alive. As she bleeds and suffers, BJ gets real close to her ear and says,
I'm the best you got. Then your best won't do. You're my world now. These are our words.
before splitting her head in twain on national television. Beautiful. I don't think the saga is over, or at least I really want to believe that we're getting a proper Wolfenstein 3. With how much people love these games, I doubt that they will ever truly just disappear. But you never know these days, so I don't want to say anything I don't want to jinx anything, you know. I also wanted to pay my immense respects to Nina Frenosek. I'm so sorry if I butchered your name again. She's probably a very nice person in real life, I hope, but at the same time, a very talented actress that brought life to one of the most evil bitches I've ever seen in media, as well as one of my favorite gaming revenge arcs of the 21st century. Bravo. Speaking of bravo, the Wolfenstein reboots in general, man. What an amazing game reboot series. I really hope that the third one lives up to these fantastic games. I adore all of them with such a passion. No, not you! Get the fuck out of here! I told you to leave! Go to your room! You're grounded! Stop! No. Bad dog. Bad. Now go raise your sibling! Anyway, this has been me talking about a video game for like, what? Anyway, I made this entire video while I'm moving to a new place, so I'm tired. Be good to each other, slay fascist face, and peace out.
Just waking up in the morning.
Hello, this is editing me. I'm fucking exhausted, my brain hurts, and this video took 3 months to edit. Thanks for 50,000 views on my Deltarune video, and thanks for 1,000 subscribers. Holy shit, I'm exhausted. Bye.
I gotta go, cause I got me a drop top, and if I hit the switch, I can make the ass drop. Had to stop at a red